we wanted to make sure that Atlas didn't feel like your old browser, just with a chat button that was bolted on.
Except that's exactly what happened. So in this quick breakdown, we'll go through a very shortcut version of the presentation, going through all of the hyped up features. Then I have the actual Atlas here, so I can show you some of the things that didn't make it into the presentation and why I gave up after 5 minutes of using the browser. So right now, is this a giant kind of, yay, another AI bubble gimmick thing? For sure is. You're not really going to want to switch to this at all, despite what some YouTube thumbnails are telling us. But I do think that this is going to send off alarm bells over at good old Google and their version of Chrome, right? So let's go ahead and jump in. Timestamps below if you want to skip around.
Good morning. Today we're going to launch ChatGPT Atlas, our new web browser.
This you should see here is your home screen. This is what you'll be presented with when you first download and open the app, or anytime you create a new tab. That end, you'll see there's a composer in the center of the screen where you could ask chat a question like normal. You can get to all of your tools, your models, and your sidebar. All of your chat history.
There's a problem there,
but
though.
Because it's a browser, you can do more. Type Hacker News.
All right, so if I jump over to my actual Atlas here, you can see the plus works. You can actually select a tab that you have open. So when you do whatever your prompt is, the prompt can actually reference the material on that tab, which is pretty cool. There's a giant limitation that makes this useless. I'll show you in a moment. And then I can click the plus button down here. You can go to more. It's finally working. It just takes a while to load. And you have all the usual things that you have, except now you have browser memory, which we'll get to later. Of course, you have the models that you can select from and the sidebar. The problem, though, is when you start to try and use your previous chats that you've used in normal GPT. So, for example, I'll use something I was working on the other day. I'm working on an email series to essentially welcome people to our membership site. And so I thought, hey, it would be cool if I could just continue all the work I've been doing with these emails and go ahead and click the plus. And you'll see here that I can't reference any of the open tabs. So it's just if you make the chat in Atlas, then you can reference other tabs. But all the hard work you've been doing previously does not work. There's another limitation when it comes to folders, but let's just jump back over to the presentation here.
That's going to take me to the URL. I could reference a bookmark in human language, and it's going to open my commits for this Galaxy diff. You can use browser memory to search your web history for something that you know you've seen before, but you don't know exactly where it is. So let me say, no, I made this somewhere. Searching your browser memories. And there you go. It looks like it found the doc I'm talking about. It's in my Google Docs. If I tap it, you'll see it'll open there. Let's jump back to the home page for one.
Now, this is that was one of those features where I go, oh, okay, that's really cool. Or you could just like go to your history and look at and find the Google Doc there. Or you could go to your history and you could search your history. So it's one of those things where it sounds really cool and then you go, but it's not really replacing something we can't do already. And how much time does it really save? Unless you're using Arc. For some reason, Arc history stinks and I can never find anything. But most browsers I use, I don't think that's really a feature, and it's just kind of tacking AI onto something that's not really necessary, which is pretty much the trend.
Final feature. So below the composer on Atlas, you'll see suggestions. These suggestions are kind of the first version of personalization in Atlas. It will be generated for you based on what Atlas understands about what you've been up to or might be trying to do next. They can be as simple as a news story it thinks you might be interested in, or as advanced as an agent task that's going to delegate through for you and kind of click through your tabs. The more you use Atlas, the better these suggestions get. And again, it's very much a V0 of personalization, but we're really excited to see where the homepage of the browser goes as we delve deeper onto this. I'm going to search for this.
So before he goes into the search demo and how it works, and then, of course, the terrible, terrible example, which is why I left it in. If you're starting to wonder, okay, but what is like GPT actually collecting though? If we come down here to their privacy policy, and they do say that everything's private and private this and private that. However, it took me a while to refine it. The logs do say technical details and publicly known URLs, which means, yes, they are looking at everything you're looking at. At least they know what sites you're visiting. It's a little blurry on how much information, like if they're reading your actual Google Docs or your Gmail and saving that. Probably not any more invasive than most standard web browsers, but just in case you were wondering, yes, they are saving the sites that you go to.
Movie I want to see. And we've made some major upgrades to search on ChatGPT when accessed via Atlas. So we know that search is kind of one of the core flows in a browser for navigating the internet. And a lot of these searches can be very keyword-based or short. And LLMs traditionally struggle with that, where they don't have enough context to provide a great answer. So one of the first things you'll notice is anytime you search within Atlas, you get these tabs across the top. You can quickly pivot your experience into something more like a traditional search engine with images, videos, or news stories, all without losing that core chat experience on the Home tab.
Now, this is one of those areas where I am going to assert my Christian and political opinion here in a moment, so brace yourself. But while I'm being apolitical here, if I just jump over to a new tab and let's say search, why do so many people like matcha tea? Right? For some reason, my wife has become obsessed with matcha. I think it kind of tastes weird, and it's just strange powder from Japan. I really don't get it. But what I do like about this is for random questions like this, you essentially get the same type of results you would get in GPT. You could tell that they were already gearing up for Atlas because these little bubbles here where you can go and click through the actual sources were already showing up inside of the regular GPT. And then if I jump over to search, I get like a normal search results, what I would see on a Google page. Of course, we have some images. I'm sure plenty of matcha videos telling me all the wonderful health benefits. And then we have quote unquote news. So before we get into the little political problem I see here, number one, on the homepage here, Google and OpenAI are making no money. There's a problem. There's no money being made here. Advertising runs the web, right? Even if you're a content creator or solopreneur, you know that even if you're not running ads are paying for your stuff, right? Like you make content, ads run on that content, you get paid. Awesome. Or you run ads and you get clients and customers. So either way, I think OpenAI is going to have to figure out, especially for non-paid accounts, how to insert ads on this first one. And I think up here is probably going to be a pretty decent place. And we might actually see a world where you're paying a couple cents for your article to be used as the reference material. But one of the main problems I see with articles like these, especially if you go to, I'm not going to click because I don't want to misquote someone who's showed up here. WebMD is probably okay. But in my particular research, what I find a lot is with these summaries, AI winds up just giving me SEO slop. We all know that. Like we go search, we have a legitimate question, and then we go to a site and it is clearly written for a Google algorithm to just crawl. There's no real information, and we get like 5 paragraphs of history nobody cares about. So I do like that it can condense that down, but I do think OpenAI summaries here are going to have the same problem Google has, and that's just there's a ton of slop out there that's not actually helpful. It's just geared towards the algorithm as opposed to people. And so if we jump over to search, there's definitely, this is where Google would have like 5 different Google ads. Like Google ads still make up like 46% of Google's revenue. So it is a big deal if people start using OpenAI over Chrome. And for the rest of us, if there is no ad dollars going towards OpenAI or Google anymore, it's going to have to go to some other platform, right? Because as an Google Ads manager, I can tell you Google Ads are the best when it comes to services-based businesses. But I do think there's a little problem with the news tab, because if you get any, let's say, controversial topics, I don't think you're actually going to get the actual results or source. And the reason that I'm concerned about this is this particular movie, I can't say any keyword out loud because I'm posting this to YouTube and YouTube's going to squash the video even more. But what I can say is this video is pretty against the conservative values that I hold, let alone the Christian values I hold. And so not to say like, oh, he's a terrible person because he likes the movie, but just to be aware that there's such a blind spot in their left-leaning ideology. They don't realize that using this movie as an example, and even in the presentation, he said, like, yeah, I saw the movie twice. It was awesome. Like, I'd say most conservatives would be completely turned off by that, especially me. Now, I don't want to make it all about the movie, but I do want to just say it's kind of another lesson. Like if you're talking to clients or customers, not all of them are going to agree with you politically. So maybe just be super apolitical when it comes to selling your products and services. And for me, even though happen to be a conservative and a Christian at the same time, two very different things. I just find it wild that a billion-dollar company can't see like this is not a good idea as an example in your presentation. But hey, maybe that's just me. Maybe most of the OpenAI users are liberal and they just don't care. So we'll go ahead and keep going.
So here, scroll down, some nice images, a few updates on what this is. Let's see if we can find a link. I'll take this Roger Ebert review. Giving it 4 stars. Okay, for the last demo I'm going to show you in these core flows, I'm going to hop over to my Gmail drafts. So we know a really
So this is where OpenAI kind of gives Gemini the finger. I think it's funny.
Popular flow in ChatGPT is to draft some writing in a note or a doc or an email, copy that writing, bring it to ChatGPT, workshop it a bit there, maybe change the tone or tenor, language, spell check, grammar, whatever it may be. Get to something you're happy with, copy the output of that, bring it back to wherever you're working, paste it there. With Atlas, we wanted to try to flatten that flow to something that feels like you can just do it in.
Also, I know this is completely irrelevant, but I don't know what kind of like presentation coaching goes on there, but like flatten that flow. It just sounds cool. I don't know. Maybe that's the geek inside of me. Like, I don't know who actually talks like that, but it does sound cool as opposed to just copy, paste, copy, paste.
Line on any form field or text box on the internet. So here I have an email. I was writing to one of the other designers on the team about this beautiful shader he worked on for Agent. I can just select the text and hit the ChatGPT nub. Maybe I'll just say, tidy my language. Doesn't look like it was my best to begin with back there.
Now I know why your emails are so polished.
Yes, well, all right, there you go. So you get your update. I could ask for another edit if I wanted. It lets you do all of this in line. Then when I hit update, it's going to take whatever your text selection was, replace it just in that. It allows you to perform really scoped edits in a super useful way. We call it cursor chat. Really.
Cursor chat. That's what I was like, flatten the flow, use cursor chat. GPT almost feels like Apple, where they have to put Apple or I in front of everything. It's something chat. But I do want to show you what it actually looks like, because this is where the advantage of the inside platform AIs, like paying for extra for Notion AI, paying extra for Google Gemini, just goes out the window. Like OpenAI is just shutting that door, and I think it's going to be even better because, as an example, I'm working on this email. So maybe let's say I want to highlight this. So this is Google Gemini, but if I highlight it again, it's a little tricky. You'll see this little green dot pop up. It'll be a different color. I chose green for my Atlas accent color, but I can go and click on it, and then I can say describe the change. I say rewrite in my voice using what you know about me. Okay, cool. And so now, instead of doing the copying and pasting I would normally do with a chat, it can go ahead and rewrite it for me. And I can see here that it's gone ahead and done that edit. And actually, I can copy and I'll say cancel, and then I'll paste it in, and then I can keep workshopping it, right? So I think this is probably the second coolest thing that's coming out of using Atlas, because now you don't have to go back and forth. But do keep in mind, if you're working on a larger or longer project, they kind of just did this one off, right? So I would actually still want to use a thread so I could see all my emails in one place, and I would have an actual history that I could go back and work with, as opposed to just small little changes. But that might just be me. As you can see here, I am really OCD with my chats and I like saving everything. And that might just be me. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump back into the presentation because we're about to go through the really cool part. And this is where I think it will wind up being the Chrome Ender with the AI agents. Again, timestamps below to skip
Excited
around.
to see what people do with it.
And we get to show you how Atlas is able to browse the web and do things for you in agent mode.
I therefore would love to just delegate this to agent mode in Atlas and have it take care of this for me. And so what I can do is I can click this agent mode here, and you can just find this with the plus button, selecting agent mode. And I'm going to kick this off. And this agent mode tells ChatGPT that I want it to actually take actions on my behalf inside of Atlas. And so you see it has its own cursor. It's going to be clicking around as if it were me, has access to all of my local authentication, all of my history. It should really feel like a natural extension of myself. Let's take a quick look at the linear task.
I cut through, they had it run for a couple minutes. So we're cutting to the end result of having agent do all the work for them.
And so, yeah, looks like it successfully added these tasks to linear. And it's a little hard to see on the screen, but it's also tagged the right people for each task. One cool feature is it shows you relevant tabs at the bottom, so you can see what tabs it's worked on. So I can go back and check the Google Doc and see, great, it looks like it's tagged all the people who had the to-dos, and it's given them a polite reminder to fill this out.
It's going to save me so much time.
Yeah.
So here we have a recipe.
So that is a really quick overview of what the agent can do. When it comes to working with tabs, though, something that I showed you earlier, I had this chat where I'm working on that email. But if I go over to the tab that actually has the email in it, I'm going to zoom out here for a moment, and then I click on Ask GPT. Of course, I can work with GPT, but I want to go to this chat I've been using for over a week now because it's got all the memory. I've been working back and forth with it. I'm pretty happy with the results. And if you've been using AI for a while, you know, once you kind of fine tune a thread and it's actually working, the worst thing you can do is try and go replicate that in another thread. You just go, oh my gosh, it's got the pattern down. Do everything now before it, messes up. And then you lose it 15 minutes later. But maybe that's probably just me. But what I don't like about this, and this is where, of course, you can click, you can open up agent mode here. I'm not going to do that. I'm on the plus plan, so I'm very limited on the amount of agents I can use. But if you come up here to open chat menu, switch to chat, you'll see there's a list of some chats, but only the chats that are not in a folder. And this is why I stopped after 10 minutes the other night. I was like, oh, cool. All right, let's go ahead and finish this. I can't reference these. So you still can't move your GPTs into a folder and you still can't, and apparently you can't access your folder chats from here. So if I go back to actual GPT and I go back to my folder, so this is the one I want to get to. And you can see here, I have a lot of folders. Like, for example, all my emails. This is my email folder. If I'm writing a new email, it goes in this folder. But none of these folders are accessible from this menu here, and I can't access this tab from any of these chats because they were, I guess, created pre-Atlas. So I think that's the biggest downside to what we can currently do with it, and why I don't think it's actually going to... Apologies, I'm clicking all around here. And why I don't actually think it's going to be helpful. So we'll go through one more example they had in the demo, and then we'll run a fun prompt here on what it can actually do for us, because I think agent mode is the game changer most of us have actually been waiting for.
We're planning a potluck, right?
Yeah, really excited about this recipe.
Yeah, and so I'd like to show you how we can use agent for things in your personal life.
All right, we're going to kind of skip through this because he's a little long-winded, but essentially he's trying to put together a recipe, doesn't really want to read through the whole thing, and just wants a shopping list and GPT to buy his stuff for him.
With the recipe is figuring out what ingredients I need to buy, right? It's somewhere in the recipe page, it's some serving size, I need to figure it all out. So I like to use Atlas to ask ChatGPT and tell me exactly what I need.
So useful.
Yeah, in the past I've told it that I like my...
And so one thing that's really great about this...
I have most of this, honestly. I just need the meat and the produce. So I'm going to say, can you order the meat and produce for me? And Will showed off how you can start agent mode by clicking a button, right, which is really useful if you know to reach for it. But in those moments that you don't, ChatGPT can figure out that the way to accomplish this is to take over your browser, right?
And so one thing that's really great about this is like agent already knows that Justin likes to shop at Safeway, on Instacart, and so it knows exactly where to go when all he said was, can you order this for me? And so it's found its way over to Instacart, and it's starting to search. You can see how it like types way faster than I do. And
I pride myself in my typing speed, and this is just blowing me out of the water. So.
exactly, and it started adding items to the cart already.
2 minutes, the agent was able to go through, fill out the cart, and it's just so useful having the cart filled out and delivered to you like this, right? It doesn't need to go all the way to making the purchase order. In fact, it's better for me if I can review what it did and decide to buy or add more things to my cart or whatever else I need to do.
Yeah, 100%. We believe that we
So that is pretty cool. Like that, I think that was, so those are the two demos they gave. But again, one was an actual, I think the first one was much more helpful in terms of, hey, this is how we could have an agent look at a Google Doc, figure out who hasn't done their stuff yet, and then go to another app, create a task, and then come back to the Google Doc and mark that you created the task. Like I think those types of things, those are going to be absolute game changers. And all of us people who are doing project management or virtual assistant stuff are going to be looking for a new career soon.
can start in the long run to have an amazing tool for vibe lifing. So
sorry, I had to cleave that. Vibe lifing. All right, so we got flatten the flow. What is it? Cursor chat and vibe lifing. So this is what the cool kids are saying now.
delegating all kinds of tasks, both in your personal and professional life, to the agent in Atlas.
We are indeed really excited to ship this. We hope you'll love it. So this is going live today for macOS worldwide for all of our users, although agent mode is only available to Plus and Pro users for now. There's a lot more to add. This is still early days for this project. We think the kind of idea that we're excited about is what it means to have custom instructions follow you everywhere on the web, and as you have this agent that you're having do things for you, getting to know you more and more, pulling stuff together for you proactively, finding things that you might want on the internet and bringing them together, which we showed a little bit of. We think we can push that quite far. So we hope you'll check this out. We hope you will enjoy it, and please send us feedback. Thank you very much.
All right, so that does it for the supercut of the presentation. Of course, they had a couple of other things in there, but I think that was the most relevant. I'm excited for the future of agents and all the time they're going to save us on all that little busy work. But for now, this is not a Google ender. It probably is in a year or two. Google still has time to scramble and pretty much copy and do the same thing before they lose a bunch of users. And for us as content creators, it is a really cool tool that is just not quite there yet. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value. Comment below with your questions or ideas. We'll definitely be following OpenAI, Claude, and Gemini and Grok a lot more closely on the podcast and channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until the next, keep building the business you love.